welcome back to Entertainment Talk. Today I'm here to do another video game review. This one is finally going to be for Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. I've got the pleasure of reviewing this video game, which should tell you a little bit of how I feel about this game, particularly itself. I have been tweeting about it and talking about it on our Gaming Talk podcast and on Geek Town and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, let's just go straight into ratings and how I feel about the game and everything like that. I'm going to give this a must-play rating. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. I think this is a fantastic video game, and one thing I've kind of been talking about, and one thing that I've put in the title for this, is love and respect, because that's the message that I'm getting from Toys for Bob, and kind of from Activision as well, although Activision have got some questions over them at certain points, but certainly from Toys for Bob's stance on their development of this game, love and respect is certainly the message I'm receiving from them, because as I've kind of said recently as well, there's one thing when you go and simply make a very good video game, or an excellent video game, or something even better than that, but there's just something else to where recently with certain other video games as well, Last of Us 2 is obviously an example for me personally. I know some people didn't like it, but I did very much, of course, and we're all entitled to our opinions at the end of the day. I've just kind of noticed certainly recently with certain video games to where sometimes you can just tell, without the developers even really saying anything, when there's little extra touches of care and animation and respect put into a video game. Sometimes you can just kind of see it, and you don't need a developer to kind of shout it from the rooftop, so to speak. And that's very much what I feel about this game. I do very much feel that Toys for Bob care about us as an audience. They care about this property, certainly. And one of the main reasons I'm kind of saying about this up front, and this is going to be a spoiler-free section at the start, I will actually be doing a spoiler section for Crash Bandicoot 4, but that will be later on, and I'll give you a warning, so don't worry about that. Because there's a lot of emphasis, there's a lot of effort put into this story, and it's worth talking about on its own without ruining things. So there'll be a spoiler section later on. There's a number of callbacks in lots of different ways, which I think is a good way to do it, to the original three games, the beloved original trilogy from the 90s on the PlayStation 1, of course. Right from the start, there's certain things put into the level at the start. I don't even really want to spoil that necessarily, because there's certain Easter eggs and other things, and I know there are only Easter eggs and those sorts of things, but I really just, if you've been wanting to play this game for some time, you haven't been able to yet for different possible reasons, and you're listening to this spoiler-free section of the podcast, I still don't want to ruin those things for you, even little Easter eggs and callbacks. I'll give some kind of examples of what they are. There's things like character callbacks to the first games. There's certainly musical, like with the music and stuff, callbacks to the original games. There's certain remixed music in the game, which my brain just kind of caught immediately with certain pieces of music. And I think even when I did the Let's Play the other day, or one of the live streams I did, or a Let's Play Sunday episode or something like that, and I revisited that first level, because I'm obviously going back to the start of the game to collect certain things. And I remember kind of pointing out in the live stream of like, okay, there's this, and this. These are all these little callbacks and Easter eggs to the first games. You don't have to do any of that, but it's that extra level of care and attention and giving a damn, I suppose, of just sort of doing that. And there's a way that you can do that that's a lot worse, which is where you treat something like a cash grab, or you're just sort of selling a product based off its name. I think you all know which game I'm thinking about at the moment, the Avengers game, obviously. But I feel like Toys for Bob looked at what the original trilogy did, and what Vicarious Visions did with the remaster of the original trilogy. Let's not forget Vicarious Visions in this, because let's be honest, if the Insane Trilogy doesn't work well critically and sales wise, this game doesn't happen. So I'm giving certainly a lot of credit to Vicarious Visions as well, and to Beanox for creating the remaster and the other part of the game for the Crash Team Racing game. All three of them deserve a very big thank you for what has ended up happening to the Crash Bandicoot franchise, and what this ultimately how Crash Bandicoot 4 ended up, which is something that I think is pretty incredible. But yeah, certain musical callbacks and remixed music, but it feels, because you can do that and sort of treat it like a dirty cash grab and sort of just sell it off the name. This feels like, okay, we're going to kind of borrow the ideas from the original games, we're going to put our own spin on things and kind of go from there. Because one other thing that I've said before in the past as well, this is a perfect, this game isn't perfect because nothing in the industry is, but this is a perfect example. I can't think of how this could have been done better in terms of taking the core and the soul and the idea of those 90s original trilogy games, pulling that idea forward into modern day, putting modern and new ideas into it that fit just perfectly well into this world, and stitching those two things together. I cannot think of a combination of those two things for this game, for Crash Bandicoot 4, that works better than what it does. And that was potentially probably quite a really big challenge for Toys for Bob. I imagine when they're sitting in the room pitching different ideas of things like different masks and different boxes and this whole dimensional story of what they're doing, it could have gone terribly wrong. It very much could have, but just that example specifically of taking something that's a model of a game that's kind of 20 years old. Because some people I've looked at the Insane Trilogy and said, like, okay, this is really good of what they did here, but the ideas here are a little bit outdated as compared to some newer platformer games. I can sort of agree with some of that, but again, I feel like a lot of potentially those issues, I don't really think they're issues per se, but if they are, I feel like those are those have certainly been modernized with the ideas here. You've got boxes that go on fire. You've got the what's the other crates that you've got? The big sort of smashable ones, obviously. You've got the normal crates that still return. All of these of which get mixed in with the original crates, like the normal box crates, and then the nitro carts and the TNT crates and everything else like that. And then you've got things like the timed boxes, which tie in with the mask, the slow down time mask as well. The mask as well, because of course you originally just had Aku Aku, and he made you invincible and that sort of thing, and that was all very cool. Though that's still back and everything. That's really, really good. But then you've got the infinite spin mask. You've got because you can pretty much, you won't be able to do it for the whole level because you'll die at some point if you do. But yeah, the idea of kind of taking the tornado spin from Crash Bandicoot 3 and turning it into a mask, but putting it into areas that only fit for it, so you can't just like constantly use it in any level. That's one of the differences. I guess one of the cool differences with the ideas here is if you take what Crash Bandicoot 3 did with like the bazooka, Wumpa Fruit bazooka thing, you've got the running ability, which you can't run in this game, but the levels are changed to where you don't kind of need to. But then you put things like the slow down time mask with the new boxes, you mix that with the old boxes, that works just perfectly. And then you've got things like what was it, the gravity mask, which granted is kind of trippy at some points, but it's all part of the challenge. That's mixed in with new levels and the new boxes and new kind of enemies and that sort of thing. What's the other one? You've got so slow down time, infinite spin, you've got gravity, and then you've got like phase in and phase out kind of things, like you can phase out different platforms and different boxes. That brings its own sort of level of challenge as well. I just felt like it was done perfectly. Now, one of the other points that I do want to get to with this, in regards to kind of these new masks and boxes and how they kind of fit in with the difficulty of the game. There is one particular level in this game, and it is towards the end, obviously, because the game gets harder as you go through it, obviously. And that level at the end of this game is probably more difficult than anything in Crash Bandicoot 1. And that is really, like, more difficult than, is it called Stormy Ascent? The game, the level that they decided to remove at first. And then they sort of put back in as I think it was free DLC, wasn't it, for the Insane trilogy. There is a level in this game that's probably more difficult than anything in Crash Bandicoot 1. I can't think of any levels in Crash Bandicoot 1 that are more difficult than one of the levels at the end of this game. But this game encourages you to try to think outside the box a little bit. It tries to encourage you to get better sort of timing of your reactions, which I know are more difficult for certain people. You know, we haven't all got the same reaction speed and whatever. But I don't know. This game's kind of designed to where you've got a learning curve in front of you, to where, okay, these are all fresh new levels. We don't know what's in front of us. Like when we're going to need to jump next or spin next, or what enemy we need to spin. Do we need to slide jump and all that? And you've got to kind of figure that out. And this game is kind of designed to be played through multiple times, which just kind of adds to the replay value, because there is an insane amount of stuff to collect here as well, which is, again, just kind of more value for your money. A little bit overwhelming at the moment, if I'm being honest, because, you know, I haven't collected everything. But then this game is also kind of designed to where, okay, if this game does kind of get a little bit too difficult for you, or for a particular person, which I'd understand definitely if it did, because this game's really difficult at certain points, you can just simply go through the level, enjoy the cutscenes, and you'll still probably have quite a good time, because that's kind of what I ended up doing in the second half of this game. Is okay, I'm going to go for the boxes that I can get, but if something's like crazy out of my reach, and I can get to it obviously, but I'm gonna do that in my second run through, kind of thing, and then I can kind of just enjoy the cutscenes. Speaking of the cutscenes, absolutely fantastic. Now, how do I kind of make what I'm going to say make sense? I've recently said in the last couple of months that I would always go for characters and story over graphics. Now, I'm going to use the term animation here because this game is obviously animated. The animations for the characters, I'm not talking about the visual aspect, like how good they look. I'm talking about the design of the characters, the movement of them in the cutscenes, how they're voice acted, how all of that kind of stitches together really well. I smiled through almost every single cutscene. There's some really good callbacks to the original games, again and again, not done in a cash grab sort of sense, more done in a sort of, hey, the audience will kind of love this little nice callback, and me as the audience member did particularly really enjoy that, and felt the love and respect of that. These are easily some of the best, if not the best, cutscenes that Crash Bandicoot has ever had. Mostly thanks to animation in 2020 is obviously a lot better than what it was in the 90s. Not saying the old games look particularly bad or whatever, but you certainly got a new level of animation here. And one of the things that's kind of most fun about these particular cutscenes is Crash Bandicoot, our main character. He is the name on the game. He is Crash Bandicoot, and the game is called that still very much. He's the only character here that doesn't talk, I'm pretty sure, because even the new masks and that talk and that sort of stuff. Dingodale's in this game, and other characters are in this game as well. Just seeing it's really quite telling when you can look at what they've done with Crash specifically in this game as a character. And sure, he doesn't give any lines of dialogue, but his physical reactions, his facial reactions, certainly to some things, or to everything in the game, is just a complete delight to watch. And again, I just felt the love and respect of, okay, we know Crash can't talk or doesn't talk or whatever. He makes, noises when he falls down, stuff like whoa and whatever else. Of course, he's got to have a little bit of personality in there, but he doesn't talk, and you can get away with that in this, and you can just use just the character's kind of body language and facial expressions, of which they do an incredible job with here. And I was just, I immediately, as soon as I kind of saw the first couple of cutscenes in this game, I was like, okay, you can just turn that into a 22 episode, not necessarily Netflix series, but a 22 minutes or 30 minutes sort of short little TV series, and that would work perfectly. It would be like a Saturday morning cartoon sort of feel in a way. then it will be a lot better than what they did in Skylanders. So yeah, I still can't believe that happened in Skylanders. For those of you that aren't aware, there's a Skylanders Netflix show, and they put Crash and Coco, and Spyro is one of the lead characters in there anyway. And they put Crash and Coco, I think it was in about 2 episodes, 1 episode for each season or something like that. And yeah, that doesn't do them any justice at all, really. And if you look at what they're doing here in the cutscenes, it's already better than what they've done in the Skylanders game. I'm sure the gameplay of the actual Skylanders games themselves are great, but the Skylanders, sorry, not the games, the TV show is what I'm talking about. They did put Crash into the game as well. I haven't played that particularly, but yeah, they've got the Skylanders Netflix show, and that didn't work particularly well. So, but overall, I'm thoroughly happy with this game. And one other thing I kind of forgot to talk about in terms of gameplay, you can do wall running in this game in certain sections. You can do rail grinding. You'll need to sort of hang off the line as well to get boxes that are below you, and swing left and right, and jump left and right as well. And just the combination of what these games were with new ideas, new boxes, new masks, rail grinding, wall running is just completely perfect. And there's not a single thought in my mind as to how they could have done that better, because I don't think that they could have. And it's just fantastic. Sure, it's certainly very, very difficult at certain points. It's meant to be. It's not meant to be a walk in the park. But yeah, it's just brilliant. I'm just thoroughly happy with it. And I'm guessing we're gonna get a Crash Bandicoot 5 at some point. I did hear I think it's the 106% complete percentage thing. You get like an alternative ending. I haven't actually seen the ending yet. That's not part of the finishing the main game, so I didn't kind of include it here. Maybe I'll talk about it like later at some point. But I have heard that ending particularly alludes to a next Crash Bandicoot game, which I think we're probably going to get. I do think that Activision is probably looking at both Spyro and Crash at the moment, and probably Tony Hawk as well, and thinking like, okay, we've revived these games, we did the remasters, Crash has got a new game, Spyro's probably going to have a new game, because why would you remaster them, have those be a success, and then just not do anything else with them? You've got a successful property back on your hands as well. So yeah, I'm in love with what they've done here, and thoroughly happy with it. So yeah, really good stuff. 10 out of 10 for me. A must-play game, I think. And even if so what would I say to those who, I suppose one other point for me to get to. One, if you're somebody who didn't play the original trilogy, don't really have the nostalgic sort of attachment, or maybe you played the Insane trilogy, but you still don't really have the sort of nostalgic attachment, I still think you should play this game, because I still think it's very, very, very good. And because of, like I said, the perfect combination of old and new ideas coming together is perfect in this game. You won't quite get as much of the nostalgic little callbacks and Easter eggs and whatnot, so you will kind of miss that a little bit. But I certainly still think, just regardless of, I still just think that the new story that they're trying here with the dimensional stuff and the ideas of the gameplay here, I think that's more than enough to say, yeah, I'd still very much recommend this game to you. You are going to miss a little bit of the nostalgic callbacks and stuff, but I still very much do think this game is going to be certainly worth it for you. And we're probably going to get Crash Bandicoot 5. I do wonder as well, because we did have the was it on the Game Boy or something? We did have the crossover game. Was it Crash Yellow and Purple, or I can't remember the name of it, honestly. I've only seen Kadikarus on YouTube, who's a popular Crash Bandicoot player, and that he's done a few videos on those games, and that's pretty much all I've seen of them. I do think at some point it makes sense to do a Spyro and Crash crossover game. I'm not telling you that that's been announced. That's just my sort of prediction. I do think that you'll see that at some point, because I think I predicted either earlier this year or some point last year, I think you'll see a rotation now of, okay, Crash 4 this year, I think you'll see a Spyro game next year. The year after, I'm not too sure what you might see. I don't know if you'll definitely see, maybe they'll have like a year off or something as well. I do think eventually Activision will try to have one Crash Bandicoot or Spyro thing every year, because they've kind of done that already, haven't they? In a way, because you had the remastered trilogy for Crash, then you had the remastered trilogy for Spyro, then you had obviously the remastered the trilogy for the remaster of the Crash Team Racing game. Then you had Crash Bandicoot 4, so they're kind of already on that train, but they're only going to really do new stuff now, I guess. So yeah, I think that's the direction that they're gonna go in, and they're gonna do one of each thing once a year. I also think they're probably gonna do another Tony Hawk game, I imagine. But Activision's very much in this sort of revival stage, and they've done a very good job of it so far. And again, credit to the developers, Vicarious Visions, Beanox, and Toys for Bob as well. So this spoiler-free section was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but I got all my thoughts out there pretty much. Gameplay's fantastic, characters are fantastic, new ideas here are fantastic, the story's brilliant. Difficulty spikes a bit challenging and a bit annoying, but hey, if you've played Crash Bandicoot before, you know what you're in for, certainly. But no, still absolutely love what they've done here, and as somebody who grew up not always playing the Crash Bandicoot games, but watching them be played by my family or playing them, I'm glad that we're back in a good space with Crash Bandicoot, because at one point we very much weren't, because I know some people like Wrath of Cortex, and I know some people like Twin Sanity. I think that all of the games, apart from the other 4 or 5 games now, so the original games, the Crash Team Racing and Crash Bandicoot 4, I think all of the other games are really bad. Now I do think the Twin Sanity and Wrath of Cortex had better ideas than things like Crash of the Titans, but they're just not really up to the standard of what Crash Bandicoot can do. So anyway, that's my quick thoughts on those games, I suppose. But we still have a spoiler section to get to anyway, so I'll see you for that in a second.
Hey there, I'm Aaron Holman, host of Eye to Eye, a weekly podcast talk show all about passion.
I have this passion and this fire within me that burns brighter than the fire around me.
Flow.
With performing, there's always a story to tell, whether it's my own or not.
And creativity.
I go, he's more than cute, he's creative.
All with an LGBT twist. Make sure to check out Eye to Eye, that's EYE, number 2, letter I. And rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in today.
I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are Killer Fun. We explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week.
For as long as people have been communicating, they have been talking about who did what to whom, and is that socially acceptable?
Because the boundaries of society,
crime,
and entertainment have always gone hand in hand.
The more salacious,
or weird,
the better. From books and movies
to television shows and games,
we look at how life and art imitate and inform one another.
And we can't get together and not laugh. So let's face it, there's going to be laughing.
Killer Fun is available anywhere you listen to podcasts, so join us.
If you'd like to get started with a domain name and a website today, just click on the link in the show notes and that will take you over to Koalu to get started. They also have a live support chat system that you can use, which is in the bottom right hand corner. So get started with a new website and domain name today with Koalu. Hey everybody, if you would like to get the ad-free versions of all of our podcasts and support Entertainment Talk along the way, all you need to do is head over to patreon.com/entertainment talk. Sign up either as a creator or as a Patreon, there's no difference there. That's just the option for either becoming a creator now or just staying as a patron for the moment. And then all you need to do is support us at the $1 level tier. That will get you access to all of the ad-free podcasts that we've done in the past, and get you access to all the ad-free podcasts in that month as well. So it's a great way to support us on Entertainment Talk and to get rid of the ads and get your ad-free podcasts. You can also become a patron at the $3 level tier. That gets you access to ad-free podcasts and allows you to redeem a review of a TV show or a film of entirely your choice. That's one per month for either a TV show or a film review, which is at the $3 level tier. As always, thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. Alright, I'm going to leave housekeeping out of this one, although we do have Walking Dead stuff that we're doing. I just did my Star Trek podcast that should be up later today, gaming talk episodes, and a bunch of other stuff, TV, video games, films, and sports. May United beat PSG, May United beat Newcastle as well, so there's podcasts for those. So just check all that out as well on entertainmenttalk.org. Alright, so I'm going to go into the spoiler section for Crash Bandicoot 4. Don't think that this isn't going to be nothing. There's some very interesting stuff in here, and yeah, I certainly still just wouldn't want to ruin any of this for you. So if you haven't played Crash Bandicoot 4 and you still don't think that there's much in the way of spoilers, I just don't want to ruin things for you. So if you haven't played Crash Bandicoot 4, please do leave now, go and play the game, go and enjoy the game, frustratingly sometimes, but go and enjoy it, come back and then listen to the rest of this. In the meantime, you can check out everything else that we're doing on entertainmenttalk.org. If you're listening on the podcast platform, or podcast player, sorry, go into that, press pause, play the game, come back, check out other stuff in the meantime that we've done. If you're listening on the website, you can either press back or click on the homepage to switch off the podcast. So I'm going to go into spoilers now. Alright, so I want to go back to the start pretty much. You got the Spyro thing at the start of this game. I thought that was a really nice callback. You've got so I'm talking about the Easter eggs at the very start of this game. You've got the little music player that does play, I think one of the main theme tunes for one of the 3 games, and then it plays the warp room music for the 3rd game. Notice those straight away. There was one other song in there that it plays, and I couldn't pick up where that was from, but I recognize a couple of them anyway. There's the TV that you can turn on, and you can, if you basically spin it, I think if you slam on it or jump on it as well, it might work, but I only tried spinning it, I think. If you spin the TV, it gives you the exact logos of Crash. You switch between them each time you spin. So Crash Bandicoot 1, 2 and 3 all with their names attached as well. And then the 4th one is on there as well, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Of course, this game as well. Yeah, just again a really nice acknowledgement of the past, but not taking the piss. You know what I mean? So I thought that was really nice as well, and just really nice little touches. They didn't need to have either of those things in there, but it's just nice touches and nice, again, love and respect towards the franchise. I thought that was great. And I did kind of notice as well, if you look at how the logos are displayed in the main menu of the Insane Trilogy, so like the actual backgrounds, I'm pretty sure that's the same backgrounds that are used on those pictures on the little TV thing. I thought that was pretty good. There's a fridge on the right hand side, and the letters are a bit scrambled all over the place, but it does spell out Crunch. Not the best of callbacks, I think we can forget Crunch a little bit. Not a terrible character, but just not in a very good video game. He was in Wrath of Cortex, wasn't he? He was the sort of next failed experiment from Cortex. So that was still an interesting little callback. Not one that I appreciated, I guess, as much, because I didn't really enjoy that game particularly. But again, just kind of giving little callbacks to the old games. So that was good. Yeah, the Spyro floater thing, I thought that was pretty good. So that's just the stuff at the start. You have a little bit of remixed music when you go in at the start as well. I thought that was really nice. And then you kind of almost have, not shot for shot, but you kind of have almost like part of the first game, because you've got the crabs in there. That's a very notable thing from the first level of Crash Bandicoot 1. You've got the water behind you from the beach as well. That's a nice little callback to the start, because that's where Crash Bandicoot wakes up in the first game, and then the waves are kind of coming in and out. And there's a couple of boxes there, obviously. And then you have the circle roller things, like the little, not boulders, but the little circle things that go left and right. You have to jump past those. Thought that was a really nice callback. Those stairs are pretty much almost the same as the stairs on Insanity Beach. It is supposed to be Insanity Beach, I think, as well. But still, it's pretty much almost modelled shot for shot with the little circle things that go back and forward, or left and right, rather. I thought that was a really nice callback. So just a couple of little examples. I know those aren't really spoilers, but I did want to leave those out of the spoiler-free section, because I just want people to go in there fresh in the first level and kind of just experience all those nice little callbacks for themselves. Because I wouldn't have wanted that really ruined for me necessarily. I know it's not a spoiler necessarily, but it's just a nice little callback to not be ruined, I think. So that was really good. So I enjoyed experiencing that. Again, I just felt just the love and respect from the devs there, because it could have just been a plain, just go forward, no music or something. I don't know, but that was really nice. So that was good. Let's get into the actual story itself. There is other musical sort of callbacks, like little remixed music here and there, but nothing quite the same as what they do in the first opening level for this game. Again, I just loved it. So that was great. Dealing with dimensional sort of Doctor Strange type of stuff in it, I thought it was great. We meet the alternate dimension version of Tana or Tawana. I thought she was really good, nice and kind of different from the original Tawana that we have. So that was really good. And yeah, she kind of she makes it pretty clear by the end of the game as well that the Crash and Coco in her dimension are dead. Which is a little bit dark, and I really, again, going back to the cutscenes, really do love just the comedic reactions from Crash and Coco. I almost said Spyro for some reason. Crash and Coco, and just that scene alone, you've got Tawana kind of explaining her dimension, Coco explaining hers, and then Crash is just trying to work out what's going on. I thought that was great. Just love Crash's reactions in different scenes. Facial animations are fantastic, and yeah, just brilliant. We got the female version of Entropy. Now in the subtitles, because I had subtitles switched on for some reason, excuse that noise, it just said Entropy F, so just female Entropy. I'm fine with that. I guess they're both Entropy, but they're or Entropy, sorry. So you got the male and the female version. That's basically what they are. Yeah, oh god, the reaction of everybody when they start doing that sexy growl at each other, and Nitrous Oxide is there really awkwardly, and he's like not sure what to do, and they've got this evil plan, and they kind of get caught up in the moment with each other. I thought that was fantastic, and then you just see everybody else's reaction. I think everybody was there, weren't they? Dingodile, Tawana, Crash, Coco, Cortex. Some of the masks were there as well. I thought that was really good, and everyone is talking about what's going on or giving some sort of vocal reaction. And again, Crash is just standing there with a confused face. I thought it was just brilliant. That's who Crash Bandicoot is. You know, that's I've spoken a lot. It seems a bit stupid at this point. I've spoken a lot about that character's, the soul of that character, like the who and what that character is. That's what that character is, and thought it was great. Thought it was fantastic. So yeah, that was really good. What's the other stuff from the spoiler section? Yeah, Cortex kind of temporarily giving up, giving Crash Bandicoot a hug. Who thought that we'd see that? And he's just kind of fed up, and Entropy's been scheming behind his back. And then you have, because you've got two boss fights with him, haven't you? You've got the, I was going to say slightly easier one at the start, but it's not really slightly easier. And then he kind of befriends Crash in the end. That was that was kind of interesting and kind of cool. And then of course you've got he decides for himself, I think it's after Entropy, both Entropies are defeated, that he's going to take the one of the masks at least for himself, and then you got the other boss fight against him. Yeah, kind of interesting. You know, Cortex not fully giving up on the idea. He's just kind of fed up for the moment, I suppose, and then kind of schemes his way back later to being a villain, and then gets sent into one of the other dimensions. So yeah, overall a really good story. A lot of effort and emphasis sort of put into it. I thought that was really quite good. So I think probably for the next game what they'll do is, although Entropy and Cortex have been sent into different dimensions, they'll probably still find their way back, and then you'll just have them against Crash again. I think that might be kind of interesting and kind of cool. I mean, it sounds a little bit repetitive to do that, but I would ask you this. Crash Bandicoot's been doing that, let's say, mainly for 4 games. How many times has... I'm just giving this as an example in case people are a bit fed up of like, oh, Cortex is back, he's fighting Crash again. How many times has Bowser kidnapped Princess Peach over decades and several games? Quite a few times, and no one's ever really complained about sort of getting bored or fed up of that. That is what that series is, kind of, really. You know, Bowser kidnaps Princess Peach, and then you go on the mission as Mario to try and get her back. Same thing with Cortex. He schemes some evil plan again, and you have to get back at him. That's the back and forth between the two of them. I mean, it's a bit like Batman and the Joker, isn't it? You know, Joker breaks out, Batman puts him back in. Joker breaks out, Batman puts him back in. Not quite as straightforward as that. There's more to it than that. But it's the back and the forth of the hero and the villain going on and on and on. But yeah, we're sort of used to those stories, I suppose, at this point. So I don't know if there's anything else necessarily for the spoiler section. Just a interesting job with how they implemented the masks and the time stuff and the dimensional sort of stuff, and yeah, it does sort of fit in a way for Crash, because there's always been the entropy side of the story where there's this time stuff going on, right? And even at the end of the third game, when Crash does send, well, not Crash himself, but Cortex and is it Embryo, they get sent backwards to when they're basically babies, and they still manage to kind of find their way out of that. So I think that it all makes sense for Crash 5 that they would come, find their way back again and that sort of thing. So yeah, looking forward to that whenever Crash Bandicoot 5 ends up happening. I do think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be interesting as well, and they can potentially again do another very successful version of putting new ideas into the old ideas as well, like they've done with this game, which I think was very, very successful. So but I think that's pretty much it from me for today. If you have any thoughts, feelings, questions, comments, or concerns about Crash Bandicoot 4, what did you think of the game? What did you think of the new ideas with the gameplay and stuff? What did you think of the story? What do you think Activision's going to do in terms of the schedule for Spyro and Crash, and maybe for Tony Hawk as well, but mainly for Spyro and Crash? And what do you think of everything that I said? Let me know your feedback, questions, comments, etc. Matthew at entertainmenttalk.org, Twitter eTalkUK. There's a contact page and information in your show notes. Love this game, 10 out of 10, and very, very happy with the current state of Crash Bandicoot. So that's it from me. That's Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. So thank you all very much for listening. You can find everything that we do on entertainmenttalk.org. If you want to support the podcast and Entertainment Talk, we're on Patreon. You can have a look at the $1 and $3 level tiers for instant ad-free podcast and review options. Amazon affiliate link, that's where you can shop on Amazon. We can get a small cut of what you spend, but it won't cost you extra. iTunes feeds, you can rate, review, subscribe to those if you search for Entertainment Talk on your favourite podcast platform. And you can subscribe to us on there. If we're not on your favourite podcast platform for some reason, please let us know and we'll look into doing that or getting that sorted out as soon as we can. You can also find Geektown on iTunes and podcast services. If you search for Geektown, your up-to-date, reliable TV and film news. Geektown Radio episodes on Tuesdays. You can also head over to geektown.co.uk and check out your favourite TV and film news as well, run by David. Bex is streaming daily at the moment over on Twitch. You can find her on there. Trista Bytes, Trista, Bytes. You can go and follow her, subscribe to her over there for lots of cool, fun, interesting stuff. Word of mouth, you can simply tell people that you know about the website and the iTunes feeds and Geektown and Trista Bytes and everything else. For social media, you can do the same thing but through Facebook and Twitter and different Facebook groups. And lastly, check out Let's Play Sundays for different Let's Play episodes of different games. Some Crash Bandicoot 4 stuff has gone out, so if you want to see me play Crash Bandicoot 4, you can do that as well. Thanks for listening, and here's to a brighter future with Crash Bandicoot. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.